Welcome back to Newsroom Africa, Channel 405. Thank you so much for staying with us this morning. Right, it's been a tough season for the Lakers. They bounced back against the Portland Trail Blazers just this morning. I mean, the NBA season is pretty much halfway through at the moment. And to unpack this, I am joined by sports analyst Sbu Shongwe. He is a friend of the show and the station. Sbu, thank you so much for coming back. Last time we spoke was right in the beginning of the NBA season. We were trying to figure out how it would unfold.
Yeah.
Looking back to what we said then, do you think that it has been, sort of what you expected of the season?
Not really, actually. If I think about it, in the beginning of the season, you and I would speak off air all the time. We spoke about the Milwaukee Bucks. We spoke about the LA Clippers. We spoke about all these teams that had such high expectations coming into this season. Obviously, the Clippers last season in the bubble didn't perform up to the standard that we expected, But we thought they'd bounce back this season, and they have done relatively well. I mean, they're sitting in second position in the Western Conference. The Bucks sitting in third, won 4 straight now. They struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season, but they're starting to get their act together. The season is always very unpredictable in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
There's teams like the Utah Jazz that come out of nowhere and just start surprising you. You think about who they have in that roster: Donovan Mitchell, who's a bona fide superstar, more of a superstar even off the court as well in terms of what he does for the community and all that. Mike Conley was a veteran, came over from the Memphis Grizzlies. He almost made the All-Star team. He should have made the All-Star team. Look at Rudy Gobert, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year out of France. He might win another one actually this year based on the way that he's playing. And Jordan Clarkson, who played with Kobe with the Lakers a while back, he's coming off the bench. He's the leading guy actually, I think, to win 6th Man of the Year this year. 18 points off the bench. These guys are just on a tear. So the season is very interesting, looking at it both from the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference as well. Yeah.
I mean, you speak of the Utah Jazz. They're actually top of the Western Conference at the moment. They've been ridiculous, really. What makes them so good? You mentioned the fact that they, kind of a superstar team, sort of flying under the radar.
Yeah.
But besides that, how is it that they clicked this season?
I think you look at Donovan Mitchell and the growth. He's in his, I think, 4th year now. He's an All-Star. He made the All-Star team as well last season. You look at Rudy Gobert. You look at all these guys that I've mentioned. They're starting to play like a cohesive unit. Quinn Snyder, their coach, has grown with them through the struggles, through the tribulations. And so they're starting to figure it out now. You look at even the organization, man. The Jazz have always been a good team. You look at Stockton and Malone back in the day, if you watch basketball in the 80s and in the 90s. So they're starting to bring that culture back. I think what's clicking now is the fact that they've grown together and the fact that these guys, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, are taking the next step. Oftentimes players can't take the next step. They can be good at a certain level, but to make that jump to superstar level is a different thing, and I think that's what's happening.
Now, are they championship contenders?
You see, you're putting me in a very, very tight corner.
I mean, look, they have been the informed side.
Yeah.
So can they continue all the way through playoffs? I want
to say yes, because I want to be optimistic. I want to believe in them. Look, the record speaks for itself. 26-6 on the season. At some point, they won 11 straight games. You can't really argue with that. Most teams in the NBA, much like the Milwaukee Bucks, one of your favorite teams with Giannis Antetokounmpo, they can play good in the regular season. The playoffs are a different beast altogether.
Absolutely.
I think they can get there based on how they're playing now. But you look at the playoffs, it's a series, right? It's not like in soccer where it's one final, it's one game to advance to the next round.
Yeah.
It's a series of games, 7 games. So the game slows down quite a bit. Teams make adjustments. Can you make it happen in that sort of situation? The Milwaukee Bucks, 2 years running, they've had the best record in the NBA, right? Comes the playoffs, nothing.
Wheels fall off.
So I wonder, for me, the big question is, are the Jazz a hot regular season team or are they a playoffs team? And that's yet to be determined. But I think they've got the talent to go all the way.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, you make the differentiation between NBA regular season and the playoffs.
Yes.
Defending champions are not having a hot season at all. The Lakers, the wheels have already come off there at the moment. Anthony Davis sidelined. It seems like compounding on their woes, but is it just because AD hasn't been there? Yes, they bounced back today against Portland.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis is a generational talent, right? He plays both ends of the floor. He's a juggernaut offensively. We know that. He can give you 30, 40, 50 on any given night. You saw in the bubble last year, I think it was Game 6 in the Western Conference Finals, where he hit that game winner in the Kobe shoes and he screamed Kobe. He's that guy, right? So on the defensive end, he is probably one of the best defensive players in the NBA as far as bigs are concerned, right? You think about Rudy Gobert, who I've mentioned earlier. You think about Pascal Siakam of the Raptors. But you think about Anthony Davis and what he brings to the table, it's really unmatched, right? So they're missing that guy, number one. Then you've got Dennis Schroeder, who's not only a guy that plays defense well, but also can create his own shot on the offensive end and get the offense running. LeBron James is tasked with handling the ball a lot with the Lakers team. He's 36 years old. His minutes are supposed to be going down so he can rest for the playoffs. So what Dennis Schroeder does is he comes in, alleviates a bit of that pressure, and lets LeBron do what LeBron does, right? But you're missing two of those guys, and it becomes quite a disaster. Today, that's why they won. Dennis Schroeder scored 22 points today, coming back from obviously the health and safety protocols of the league. He makes such a difference in that team. And what's happening with the Lakers right now, if you think about their struggles, I like it, personally, me, because it gives LeBron and Frank Vogel, the coach, sort of an evaluation of where does that squad stand. Can Kyle Kuzma step up? Can Alex Caruso step up? Can Tavis Caldwell-Pope, we saw him in the finals, step it up, but right now is a bit quiet, you know? All these young guys, can they take the next step and make sure that the Lakers repeat?
The likes of Montrezl Harrell as well.
Montrezl Harrell, look, I mean, he came from the Clippers, obviously, last year, but he's fitting very nicely with the culture of the Lakers. The other thing is, once Montrezl comes out, defensive, the resistance, you can't really sit, right? They need another tough-nosed guy, I feel. So before the trade deadline, I think it's March 24th, I think they may need to add another big just to strengthen that team a little bit.
I mean, look, King James still scored the most points today, 28, you know, in the game as well. So he, as you're saying, his minutes just aren't going down, though.
Look, right now he's supposed to be resting.
But
that's what you do, but he's not, because he has to carry a lot of the offensive load, right? He has to make plays for other guys. He has to do so much. And that's why I'm saying to you that it gives them an idea of what the roster looks like. So that come playoff time, they know the strategy, what it is.
Right. We'll see what happens come playoffs time. The All-Star game was a hot, contentious topic. Almost didn't happen. Plenty of the players didn't want it to happen. One of them being LeBron James, coming out and saying, I don't understand what we have to celebrate at a time like this. But NBA, lo and behold, said it's going to happen. I
think if LeBron James and any other player says, I don't understand why it has to happen, well, then it means you mustn't understand why you're getting paid over $40 million a season, right? Because if you look at the business of the NBA, it's broken down with the TV deals that they make money off, obviously with Turner Sports. Then you've got the Jordan and the Nikes and all that. Then on the other side of the jersey, you've got the sponsorships, right? That's the money that pays the players, pays the teams, pays everybody, all the coaching staffs. So the NBA signed a 9-year, in 2016, 2017, signed a 9-year, $24 billion deal, right? So per year it works out to about $2.6 billion. And that then gets distributed to the teams and all that. If you don't have an All-Star game, you are not fulfilling your business obligations as far as putting the games on TV. That's how the players get paid. I understand that safety of the players is of paramount importance. I get that. But at the same time, you have to balance it with the business of the sport itself, right? And the NBA didn't just decide on their own. They consulted the Players Association and made sure that, first of all, players are safe. They're going to fly in privately. It's going to be one game, one day. It's not going to be the traditional All-Star weekend where you have the dunk thing and then you have skills on Saturday and you have different activities happen.
But I mean, the players are complaining about safety, but they currently in season. They are playing at the moment. So, of course, there won't be much of a difference between the All-Star match and a regular game.
Exactly. And I think the NBA kind of looked at the bubble situation last year, looked at how they were able to do it. Because if you think about it, I think of all the sports leagues in the world, the NBA really, really did a great job as far as the bubble was concerned when the pandemic was still at its highest, right? So, I mean, we're still dealing with it even to this day, but I think they set the tone for a lot of leagues. And the players are safe. I mean, you've got 450 players, 5, maybe 6 over the last month or 2 have tested positive. And they make sure that the players are safe at all times. So I don't see what the big deal is. But I think those guys, they may say we're not excited, but actually they are. Once they step in between those lines, that competitive juice is going to start to come out.
Absolutely. Look, let's round it up with the MVP midway through the season. You know, currently we've got the 76ers, top of the Eastern Conference. As I mentioned, we've got Jazz, top of the Western Conference. Would we see the best player in the league come out of any of those 2 teams at the moment, or you've got your money on somebody else right now?
I've got my money on 3 guys that I'm not quite sure, you know, where to place as far as the pecking order. LeBron James, 36 years old, 25 points a game, easy, right? That's what he's averaging. And he's on a team that's sitting in 3rd place now in the Western Conference. With LeBron, it's a thing of he's done it so many times, people want to see something different. If there was any justice in this world, he'd win it every year, right? So LeBron is number one, I think, as far as it's concerned. Joel Embiid, our Cameroonian brother, is on a tear, really, this season, and I think he's probably front runner for MVP as well. And the third guy is Stephen Curry. He didn't play much last year, lost Klay Thompson to that ACL, lost him again to an Achilles injury this year, but his numbers, he's averaging 30 points. He's over 30 years old, but he's averaging 30 points and he's getting it done for the Golden State Warriors. So between those three, I would choose Embiid just because of the African connection, you know, and he's playing really well. I mean, the 76ers are on top of the Eastern Conference right now. It's hugely, one of the reasons is definitely Joel Embiid.
All right, let's leave it there. Sbu Shongwe, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be talking towards the end of the season once again to see if we know what we're talking about. Right, that is the NBA roundup for this morning.